Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is Kelly Beard of karmictools.com. And tonight we have a special topic to go over. Uranus is an 84-year cycle. North Node is a 20-year cycle. And them getting together in Taurus is 200 and some odd years when it happens. So it's a big process for us to get together like this and check in, because this is a very special alignment we can all co-create with on some level. And especially those of you who have Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo Aquarius energies activated, then it's even more personal for you as well. So first, we're going to do a little breath work to unify the circle, give people a few more minutes to get in here. Take some deep breaths, make that connection above, below, and at the heart. We're going to move through the chakras, starting at the top and coming down to the root to be here now. So let's take one cleansing breath together. Deep breath in. And hold and release. We're going to start at the crown, picturing a beautiful violet crystal infused with light. This chakra is associated with your knowledge and understanding and consciousness, your wisdom. Make that connection, see that light infusing your crystal, spinning counterclockwise to the left, and take a deep breath in at your crown chakra. Deep breath. And hold and release. Come on down to your third eye chakra. This one's associated with your clairvoyance and intuition and imagination, as well as the element of light. Here, I want you to picture an indigo crystal, which is that rich midnight blue, infused with light from within, spinning clockwise to the right. Make that connection to your own third eye. Take a deep breath in. And hold and release. Come on down into the throat chakra, associated with your voice and creativity, mantras and vibration, the element of sound. Here, I want you to picture a light blue crystal infused with light from within, spinning counterclockwise to the left, and take a deep breath in, connecting to your own authentic voice. Deep breath in, and hold and release. Come on down into the heart chakra, which connects above and below, is associated with love, of course, relationship, balance, breath and unity, healing, and the element of air. So here at the heart chakra, I want you to picture an emerald green crystal infused with light from within, spinning clockwise to the right. Take a deep breath in at your heart, connecting above and below. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Come on down into your power center, below the heart, above the navel. This is associated with your personal power, will, and self-esteem, energy and metabolism. Transformative power is there, along with the element of fire. So here I want you to picture your favorite shade of yellow, golden yellow, infused with light from within, a beautiful crystal, spinning counterclockwise to the left. Take a deep breath in, connecting to your own power center. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Come on down into your creative center, associated with your emotions and sexuality, change and polarities, movement and pleasure, as well as the element of water. So make that connection at your creative center. Picture your favorite shade of orange, a crystal infused with light from within, spinning clockwise to the right. Take a deep cleansing breath in, connecting to your own creative center. And hold and release. Come on down into your root, which is associated with survival and our roots, as well as our grounding, our physical body, new beginnings, and the element of earth. We be here now. Make that connection to your own root. Take a deep cleansing breath in. And hold and release. So welcome everyone. Those of you getting the replay on the back end, we're going to have so much fun tonight. So first, I want to talk a little bit about cycles. Cycles and rhythms. We're going to start there because this is how our bodies are wired. This is our connection to Earth and Mama. All of this has to do with rhythms and cycles and patterns that we develop ourselves, that we get into, we try to move along and they develop them so that they're better for the here and now, which is why we check in like we do. And the rhythm is the same no matter what planetary cycle we're talking about. There's an initiation and an integration, meaning a new beginning point and a midpoint in the cycle. They're related and they're the most powerful times to co-create. So that's what we're going to talk about, dates and things later of what we've already been through and what's coming down the pike. So I'll give you some years to meditate on, and all the goodies that go with all this stuff I'm going to tell you about is going to be really fun. Toward the end, we'll have some divinations and the energetic support around all this, because Venus and Mars are very active and interactive with these two. And Jupiter's coming soon. So we have some really big, fresh alignments coming in 22 and 23 that we have to look forward to. And right now, like I said, with the rhythm, we want to look at the new beginnings and the midpoint as being related. And then the first and final test, these are the squares in a cycle, 90-degree angles. A lot of astrologers will say they're hard and treacherous and avoid them at all costs. I don't tell you that. I'm going to tell you that they are stabilizing forces. A 90-degree angle helps you stabilize something, helps you change something to make you stronger. And it's like a stepping stone. We build a staircase up out of whatever situation we're in. It's a time that the language I use is out of comfort zone into new territory. So it's not always fun, but it's really worth it to co-create consciously. And when the planets are in the sky squaring each other or squaring our charts in any kind of way, those are some growth moments that we want to get into and consciously at least set our intention. We might not be able to control everything, but we can set our intent, right? So the other thing I want to mention is that planets and asteroids, I usually look at as bringing up the issues and activities, right? So these are the things that come up. Uranus has to do with our awakening and our liberation, our freedom, and how we choose to be a unique contributor down here on this planet. So we work with those issues and activities when Uranus is active. The North Node isn't really a planet or an asteroid, it's a point in the sky, but it has to do with our lunar emotions and internal rhythms. So we pay attention to the lunar nodes, right? And so with them, the things that come up have to do with life path and direction. So something is cracking open with the direction of our lives. No one is exempt. And it's usually in this moment, the initiation is happening in your Taurus department, which means you have to integrate something in your Scorpio department. These two are opposite each other and they work together. That's earth and water. So the way I describe Taurus Scorpio is that Taurus is like the garden and Scorpio is the breath of God that breathes life into that garden. Taurus is the visible, the things that we manifest and we create with our own two hands. But Scorpio is our soul. It's our power to create anything. And sexuality being our strongest creative force that humans can channel, right? We can create life. That's a big force that we need to understand. And our own power works differently in each of our individual bodies, minds, and souls, right? So we want to learn how that power works throughout our lifetime. And Taurus Scorpio helps us do that. And it's usually tied to our values and priorities, what's really important to us around food, sex, and money specifically. So we're going to talk a lot about that throughout the evening as well. And then the sign energies are the lessons and expressions, which I've already tapped into. Now, where we're going to have to grow because we're initiating in Taurus and we're integrating and balancing things out in Scorpio, we have to grow in our Leo Aquarius departments. And Leo Aquarius has to do with self-love and accepting love from others, and your unique contribution to the world, being that individual within the context of the community or the collective, the bigger picture, right? Aquarius is always about the bigger picture and how we can expand. It's also ruled by Uranus. And then there's all different ways that we weave things together to see how they're related and they influence each other. But I'm not going to go that deep tonight. So just knowing that the lessons and the expressions are coming through the sign energies. And then that ends up being personal for you all in your houses, in your own blueprint. Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo Aquarius rules certain houses in your chart. Houses are areas of life and aspects of self. So this is where we get involved. And wherever that shows up, for example, my Taurus is 6th house. So my daily routine and rhythm is changing because I've moved from the beach to the mountain. So the whole rhythm, I've gone from hot to cold and seasons again, where I had one long season in Florida. So now there's a whole new rhythm. And it's a big deal for 20 years because the last 20 years, my rhythm has been parenting and raising my son. So now I get to claim that all anew, and Uranus is really helping. So wherever your Taurus is where you get to initiate and kind of break free. But Taurus rules our body and our physicality and our creativity and our goals and the things that we want to really build and bring into form. So this is a good place to get conscious. And we're going to go into different ways that we can consciously co-create with these activations and alignments. The way I look at it is we can do some prayer work, some ceremony. If you're into it and you want to go that deep, like all you need is a candle, a glass of water, and a crystal maybe, and whatever you need that represents what you're trying to bring into form. Maybe that's a picture or a symbol or a totem of some kind, and make yourself a little altar for the full moon and new moon and work that, because that is how you draw in that energy from these alignments and let it infuse whatever soul work you're doing, whatever you're focused on at this time. These energies are going to influence you whether you're paying attention or not, right? So I always say, you can always say for the greatest good of all involved and let it go and not even have to get too technical or deep or specific. But the more specific and the more, let's say, dedicated energy you put to it, then the stronger your results, right? So that's how that works. And there are little ways that we will be able to continue. What I talk about tonight is kind of pretty big. And it's a 20-year cycle at a minimum that we're tapping into. But monthly, every month, the moon moves through Taurus, Scorpio, and Leo, Aquarius at some point. And then during those times of year, which would be May and November and August and February, then we have the new moons and full moons, and they're even stronger, right? So we can work with this weekly or monthly or quarterly or annually, circle back when these energies are kicking. And when any other bigger planets get there, it is a big deal. So they lend extra weight and juju to our soul work as well. Now, the North Node cycle, like I said, is kind of our anchor here, because that's the one we can all relate to. We can remember the years when it was kicking last time. Most of us are old enough to remember. And those of you young enough, you get to work with it in a whole different kind of way. But it is a good idea to think about a 20-year cycle that moves in 5-year increments. And this is how your life path and direction is a personal cycle in your chart. This one we're talking about for the social collective. This is one that's up in the sky affecting all of us, right? But you do have a North Node in your chart, which creates a cycle for you. So that is the one where you start to notice pivot points in your direction about every 5 years. And if you can pick up on the rhythm, you can co-create consciously. And then you start to recognize how things develop on the path. So remember earlier when I said the rhythm is initiation, then we have the first test, integration, and the final test. So it's almost like 4 quarters to a football game. We look at it that way. So we start out with that first quarter and we're all excited, and it's a new beginning, a new path, a new direction. Right now, we're all anchoring that from our Taurus departments. And the last time that we did this was 2002 to 2005. So that's the full 20-year cycle that's run its course in your Taurus department. We're ready for some renewal. The fact that Uranus is there is rare and special and lending that extra juju I talked about when other planets get there, right? So as we develop that initiation of a new path, we don't always know what's going on that first 5 years, right? So we're looking at right now, 22 to 27-ish, that 5-year stretch, where we're initiating new routines, new values and priorities, new relationships and connections and collaborations that we want to work on. It's new ways of looking at our finances and our value and our worth is all up for renewal. And at the very least, a new 20-year cycle, right? So we initiate there, and then we go along. And the first test in a life path is usually a test of what you do not know, because the cycle's still getting underway. You're still learning about what's going on around you or how your choices are affecting you. You usually get some clues at 5 years in, but from 5 to 10, you're developing your path, you're developing your value to other people and all that good stuff, and recognizing what's leading you, right? What kind of values are leading you to make these directional shifts in your world. And then when we get to the halfway point in a North Node cycle, I always say we hit the wall. Very often at a midpoint in any cycle, we hit the wall. With the North Node, we hit the wall on where are we going? What direction are we headed? All of a sudden, things don't feel right, and we get stopped in our tracks. Very much like the 90-degree angles, just like the squares, we get stopped in our tracks, and we have to ask the question, what are we doing? Where are we headed? Because it's life path and direction. So that's the question. If we hit the wall with Saturn at the midpoint in a Saturn cycle, It's what is real. If we hit the midpoint in Jupiter and it's a Jupiter cycle, a 12-year cycle, 6 years in, then we question what is true, right? All of a sudden, what we're believing doesn't feel right anymore. So those midpoints, that's why I said the initiation and integrations, the starting point and the midpoints are related and vitally important. They are the most powerful alignments to co-create with. So right now, like I said, you'll be initiating in Taurus, integrating in Scorpio. And then you go along to that third quarter. Now, once you're 15 years into a 20-year cycle, you pretty much got to ride that out. That last 5 years, you can feel the new beginning bubbling, but you can't always get it started because you have to tie up the loose ends from the past. So that's how the 20-year cycle unfolds. So if we were to look back on it and say, okay, 02 to 05 was the last time we initiated in Taurus, right? Then you go 5 years from there, it actually was 08, 09 when the North Node was in Aquarius. And we had to develop a new vision. We were approaching 2012. There was all these radical new ideas kicking, and we needed some detachment is also part of Aquarius energy. And then we had our midpoint when the North Node was in Scorpio, 2012 to 14. So those are also years. All these years I'm rattling off, even if you can't think right away of what was going on. Think in terms of your values and priorities. Think in terms of your body and soul. Think in terms of your material reality and your personal security and how all of that has evolved in those years and kind of got triggered or activated in those years. And then we had another final test, 2018 and 19, when the North Node was in Leo. Now we awakened to our unique contributions, what we really wanted to express. All the creativity started bubbling, and then COVID hit and they shut us down. So that's kind of crazy too, because a lot of good stuff was happening in 18, 19, preparing us for expansion that got hijacked. Now that doesn't always happen, but I want you all to think about what was going on after September 11th, 2001. Recognize that we're right back in the zone of 02 to 05. What did we build out of that destruction? What did we build out of those violations of our rights and everything else? What did we decide to go forward and value? I remember I was starting my business in 99. So by 01, when that happened, I thought I was going to get killed because nobody was going to have disposable income for astrology or esoteric stuff, right? But the exact opposite happened then. And it happened again after COVID with me as well, where people need something else to believe than the general story that's getting fed to them, right? So it actually blew my business up in 02 to 05 in a birthing new experience. You know, I was working for myself. Those were the years where I still had a day job, but I was claiming I am an astrologer and my day job was my side hustle. And by 05, that was true. So here I am again, starting at the mountain, empty nest, all this new beginning energy, if I have my values and priorities straight, right? If my relationships and finances are in a good zone, right? And if not, how can I start some new stuff there, right? I know I need a new community on the ground because I've basically been online for 20 years. The minute COVID hit, that year I had 4 retreats scheduled for the first 6 months of the year, and everything got pushed to online. Now, that wasn't a stretch for me because I'd already been online for 20 years, but I was ready to be in person. And I'm ready to be in person now. So anybody that wants to get together in person, I'm open. So this is the cycle of our values, our self-love and self-worth at those pivot points. So think about those years. What came up around your self-worth and self-love? 02 to 05, 08 to 09, 12 to 14, 18, 19, and now again, 21 to 23. How were you activated in that way? The way I break down the Taurus Scorpio self-love and self-worth is pretty literal. I look at the Taurus energy as our level of creature comforts, our physical levels. So for example, my mother was a bartender and she always had basement apartments. The minute I got out of there, I was penthouse, windows all the way around, complete opposite, right? So I know my level and it's not basement apartments. And so that's my Taurus belief in my self-worth and value, that I need a certain roof over my head, but I am a Cancer. So between all that, I need a certain roof over my head. I just do. So we know that in our Taurus department, it's where we feel worthy of the physical joy, pleasure, sexuality, sensuality, just any of that being in your body and loving it, right? You know, this is the only planet we need a body. So this is the one we need to tend to our bodies in order to experience that pleasure. Now, if everything hurts and everything's broken, that's not a good physical experience. Then our Taurus feels really blocked and heavy. And that's the shadow part of Taurus, is also what I call a hungry ghost, where we're hungry for something. We're so determined that we go after it in our Taurus departments, we make it happen, but then it doesn't satisfy. It's like, what? Wait a minute, that didn't really feed me the way I thought it would. It didn't nurture me the way I thought it would. And there's this hungry ghost that can't be identified. That's the challenge of it. So the way I get people to dial that back in is go back into your values. What do you really care about right now? What's most important to you? And what's worth it? What's worth the investment of energy and whatnot? So again, there's this level of comfort that goes with our Taurus self-love. Scorpio self-love is more about you having power. And just think about how many people feel powerless. They feel like they can't affect any kind of change. That's not true, but it can feel, again, really heavy. So we get our experiences coming up, our culture, our family, our communities. They teach us about how much power we do or don't have, right? So I've struggled with authorities all my life, bucking the system. This don't make sense. I got too much Virgo. And if it don't make sense, I can't make myself do it. And so I have a hard time in this world, as y'all might imagine. And so that power, but I still feel the power of my soul. I still feel a certain level of power that when I change, everything around me has to change or go away. So I take my power back that way, where I know instead of complaining about my husband, I shift something going on inside me. Then his response to me is completely different. But I can't go pounding on him to change. That ain't never going to work. So we go within with Scorpio. That's our power to create or birth anything new. And we get a reset in Scorpio that takes us back to our 0 point of possibility. So again, there's this level of comfort with power. You know, there's different things that come up around power. And then part of power is always connected to sex, money, death, our taxes and resources. This is all tied in and woven in and mixed up and with our power. So then we need to redefine our terms very often in order to feel a sense of power again. Leo, Aquarius, completely different kinds of self-love. Now we're talking the head and heart alignment. Uranus is the higher octave of our mentality, of our mental body, right? It's our higher mind that goes with Mercury, our lower monkey mind, our individual consciousness, right? So with Leo Aquarius, the self-love comes in around, again, being able to accept love, to feeling a certain worth around your authentic self. Like when I was younger, it was uncomfortable. My nature, my very authentic Kelly, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I learned to hide that in certain ways or only let it out around certain people or whatever. But it did affect my self-worth early on when I took it personal. And Leo's the place where we want to look right to other people, but you want to go within and actually be right, right? So the highest possible Leo is that inner leader, that part of you that knows you have that one piece to contribute that is maybe not so special, but unique. It's still really a part that has to be expressed through you. So that self-love with Leo comes through in how we express ourselves. And then the self-love that comes through with Aquarius is our unique contribution to the world. A lot of people don't feel like they have a unique contribution. And so they shut down their creativity or even any of their radical ideas of thinking differently. I always tell people, find a need and fill it. If you think there's a need for something, you're not going to be the only one. If you have a need for something, you're not going to be the only one. So that lets you integrate, with the people around you, start to realize that if you would just speak up and mention your particular point of view, that is contributing to the whole in a way that is always the best kind of Aquarius expression we can have. So that Leo Aquarius, again, is how we feel between our head and heart. When I say that, I always remind people that our brain can stop working and we'll still be around. We'll still be alive. But if our heart stops working, that's a wrap. That's done. And we realize how important it is that we have the conscious mind that can do rational thought and impartial decision making. Yes, we want that. But then you run it through the heart filter. How does this feel? Does this feel right? Okay, so that's our Leo Aquarius departments where we get into all that. Now, think about your life path and direction. Think about how it's tied to those self-worth and self-love things, the values and priorities of your life, how you make those choices and act on certain things. knowing that this is very personal when we're looking at the lunar node cycle, and that the North Node is always here and now, and the South Node is sort of past life or where we go into shadow. And this is one of those Kelly-isms I haven't really seen in the book anywhere, but I will tell you that I have tracked it. And I feel like, all right, let me use an example. Aries and Libra are opposite each other, so they're related. Just like I've been talking about Taurus, Scorpio being related. Gemini, Sag are opposite. Cancer, Capricorn are opposite each other. Leo, Aquarius, and Virgo, Pisces. So rather than 12 signs, we really have 6 sets of 2, right? Now, with that, I've noticed in humans, if we have strong Aries, like I have really strong Aries, and just a little bit of Libra, right? So my default setting should be independence, self-sufficiency, self-containment. And when I'm in check with all that, things are going great. When I get into shadow, I exhibit negative qualities of my opposite, which would be Libra. So the negative qualities of Libra, or when you're in shadow Libra, is when you're too other directed or over focused on other people and making sure their needs are met, and you're not thinking about your Aries, your individual needs, right? So we know my son has the opposite. He has a Libra focus, with Aries being the past life. And so there's these ways that we can slip into the shadow side of our opposite energies and start exhibiting these negative qualities. So that's where you want to catch that too. Sometimes when you feel like, God, that's just not even me. Well, it's not. It's the opposite of you. And there's an imbalance, and it's what usually manifests when we're thinking about that. So whenever we're talking about the nodes or the choices and decisions that we have to make regarding our direction, that is personal. Like I told my son too, coming up, to choose not for the money. We don't choose jobs for the paycheck because, it's very hard to guarantee happiness that way. But if you can go somewhere for 8 hours a day and feel like you contributed and have a sense of self and self-esteem, then that's what we're going for. I can't put myself any longer. I worked in offices early in my youth, but I can't be in nobody's office but my own right now. I need my sacred things around me to function. So there's just ways that I learned I couldn't make myself do that 8 hours a day, even for money, right? So now, again, with the value shifts that happened during those years, and how do you feel now that we're going into a new beginning around that? The other thing about nodes is the North Node is always about the attributes to develop, and what I call the South Node are attributes to amend. So when you do catch those shadow habits or bad habits going on, or rhythms that just no longer apply, this is the thing about getting on autopilot and not checking in. This is why I love the seasons. They allow us a checkpoint to keep it moving. We don't get stagnant and stuck in any one season. We keep moving. Now, I've touched on the years. I want to talk about Uranus a little bit. I've done a lot on North Node. So Uranus, all about our awakening and liberation, is really important. It's how we get cracked open at different ages and stages, generally around 21, 42, 63, and 84. During those years, Uranus in the sky is touching Uranus in your chart, waking you up to some new consciousness. Like I said, your higher mind kicks in every now and then and wakes you up in a way that you can never go back. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee what you see, right? So when Uranus cracks you open, you want to think about that lightning strike that lights up the sky for a split second. Now, our job is not to fall back asleep, not to go back into the darkness, even though that flash was so sudden and unexpected and maybe too short to process in that moment. But give yourself some time to process with Uranus, and you will wake up to your next level in some kind of way. So think about those ages for those of you old enough: 21, 42, 63, and 84 is a stretch. I don't think any even yay-yays in their 70s. This is our key to independence and freedom. So we turn to Uranus to look around for that. How well do we work with freedom? How well do we like to, or how, poorly do we do with confinement or limitations? Uranus is always the energy that's buzzing, that is trying to, what's the visual? The visual that I have is the crab or the crustacean that has to slip out of its shell because it's outgrown it and slip its body into another shell. And so it's very vulnerable between houses. But it's absolutely necessary, and there's no going back. Once they come out, they got to move into that new shell right away. And that's what Uranus does to us. If we have outgrown our containers in some kind of way, Uranus will come along and blow it all up so that you can get to that next level, whether you think you're ready or not, right? So we don't want any stagnation when we're dealing with Uranus. Uranus also brings up your aha moments, like I said earlier, that change your life and there's kind of no going back. That's really important to take note of. So one of my little tricks and tips for working with your journals is that I usually have a journal that covers me for about a quarter, for 3 months. And at the end, I'll have a page of highlights. So my journal's all my blah, blah, wah, wah during the week, during the month, during that quarter. But at the end, there might be some little nuggets of gold, either consciousness that woke up for me or physical habits that got in place properly, or whatever goals and projects I was working on. But whatever I want to remember, I put a page at the back and I have a highlights. So all my journals kind of include the intentions at the beginning and the highlights at the end. The intentions are what we want to do, highlights are what actually happened. But there's things we want to remember. And some of the way Uranus wakes us up at certain times in our lives, you would want to take note of that. And then even track a little bit about that year. And think about Uranus and Saturn both have these kind of 7-year cycles. So there's this way that once you get to a 7-year mark, your reality is tested and your consciousness is tested. Like what is real at that point? And how have you locked yourself in a little box, a little container that worked for 7 years, but now we got to change that, right? So let's think about that 7-year cycle as well along the way. Uranus always represents our sudden, unpredictable changes. Often they are out of our control in a lot of ways, but they force us to activate our inner critical, creative thinker. I love that. It used to be on my son's report card, and he always got it checked because I had my baby asking questions. So that critical, creative thinker, we need that right now around, think Taurus, your body, your food, your boundaries, your actual physical boundaries and things like that. All of that's getting an upgrade. And some way you have outgrown your past and it's time to live at a new level. How do you remain an individual and do your self-preservation? Okay, again, Uranus is related to our individuality. Again, that unique piece that I was talking about with Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. It's your unique contribution. So what do you do to be slightly different than others? How can you see how you are different and there's a value to that difference? How do you do self-preservation? And I'm always quoting Yay with this one because for years I said self-preservation is not selfish, it is essential. And then Yay came along and said self-preservation is the first law of nature. We can't go against that. So when we are being kind of cracked open for these things, it's time for that next level and we can't go back. So then you just work it out. Like I said, activate those creative solutions and start adjusting and adapting because you don't really want to go back. You know, we don't want to live on autopilot. We want to be awake and alert as we move through and navigate these changes. Because some of this, you've also maybe heard me say, when nothing's in place, anything's possible. So right now, the whole system's crumbling. So let's build our own as individuals so that we're stronger. Where do you get radical, innovative, or progressive? Again, how can you think differently going forward about your body, your relationships, your finances? How can we crack that consciousness open to an abundance consciousness? The other thing Yay is always bringing up, we've got these different economies, different ways of creating value, right? And if we can get back to a trading barter system, we could be valued for the things that we actually produce. And so there's ways that we need to start thinking outside the box. Also tapping into higher frequencies. Again, that higher mind, going to your crown chakra, asking Uranus to wake up and light up some area of your brain, your imagination that you need, again, that can only come up with those creative solutions for you. You're not even the one that's coming up with them for the rest of the world. This is for your consciousness to wake up and to develop, get to its next level, right? So we want to be able to tap into higher frequencies. A lot of times when we're struggling or we're feeling weighed down and heavy, I always say we got to raise the vibration first, got to bring in some light, and then start looking for the solution. You don't want to look at the solution when you're rolling around in the muck, okay? Or if you're feeling in the darkness in some way, or feeling really confined and cramped. We want to lighten up, brighten up, raise that vibration, and then go into what's really important to here and now. This is also, Uranus is the problem solver. Remember what I said? Like we can sometimes feel really locked and blocked, and Uranus can help us unblock, right? In huge ways. It's all about problem solving and inventing new ways to function. And we all know we need that. Now, I haven't bought bread or a few vegetables and herbs in the year and a half I've been in this new house, because I'm determined to kind of control my own food because the supply chain is all crazy, or control my needs and how I function in my day-to-day. So my day-to-day is fine. If you go into virtual reality, there's a bunch of chaos. But in this reality, in my physical day-to-day, I'm just fine, and I'm claiming that. In this moment, all is well, right? Now, this is Uranus and Taurus specifically. What happens when a whole social collective has outgrown its values in a certain way? That's what's happening to us. The other thing, if you want to think about 84 years ago, the Uranus and Taurus cycle was 1934 to 42. So now I'm going to drop some bigger years on you that you all can do your own research on history and where everybody was and what was going down. But I want you to think about those years. This is after the Depression. This is when they created the Fed and fake money and credit. This is when all kinds of things around values shifted. And at the same time, humans got super creative. We got inventive. We started coming up with other ways to take care of our own needs because we knew the government was crazy. So 34 to 42 is the initiation. And now we've come 84 years full circle with those values, at least in America. Specifically, that's what I know off the top. But I'm sure we could link it around the world and find other correlations for the values shifting in social collective ways that were so dramatic that we're living the outcome of that now. And so we want to recognize that we're at the root here where we get to lay a new foundation of values. And again, how we get anything done with money or exchanges of energy or however we're going to end up doing that. The next years that Uranus was in Leo, 1955 to 62. So think about the awakening of creativity that happened during those years, but also think about how many people really want to look a certain way, but not necessarily be a certain way. This is the 50s and early 60s before all the big 60s stuff started coming. And they were like, no, we're not doing that fake stuff. We're going to get real and do things natural. And think about how all the industrial age things started unfolding at that point. Again, we're living the outcome of some of these choices around values. The next time Uranus was in Scorpio was 74 to 81. Now you're looking at all kinds of things, the unusual, weird, different around sex, power, death, money, all those things that are Scorpio ruled. It was illuminated, let's just say, and got activated in a very deep way. Now, how many people held on to their souls and how many people got their souls zapped right out of them? Then when Uranus was in Aquarius in its home place, 95 to 03, what was going on then? What kind of awakening were you having in the late 90s, early 2000s? Now, again, we're kind of back to that early 2000, 02 to 05. So there's a zone here that it would have overlapped and been related. And so think about how we woke up to the fact that we are these individuals that are affecting the whole. And how's the whole doing? Well, if the whole ain't right, that's probably because the individuals ain't right. So you probably heard me say too, if the individuals get it together, I believe the globe will be okay. But I like to put out materials and tools and support systems for the individuals because that's where we can do our work. So these years were all years when Uranus was kicking in the fixed signs. So the other thing I want to talk about are the modalities real quick. The way that I can usually get people to remember is if I talk about the seasons. So winter, spring, summer, fall is Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. It's cardinal energy. There's lots of choices and decisions and movement and action. Things are moving around at the turn of the season. The trick is that the month before, which is Gemini, Sag, Virgo, Pisces, the month before every turn of the season, we're in processing mode. If we would process physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, do our processing work, then when we get to the turn of the season to make those choices and decisions, it's a lot easier. But the month after the change or the choices is fixed energy. It's Leo, Aquarius, or Taurus, Scorpio. So after we've made those choices and decisions, something's changed. We have to either anchor the new thing or, because we've made a choice and that's over, release the old thing once and for all. Because in fixed signs, when we release, it's permanent. We let go permanently. So that's the other beauty of working this Taurus Scorpio energy of the nodes right now and having Uranus there to support us. Now, I want to talk about the energetic support and a few prayer days and intention dates where you all can do some ceremony or things on your own and know that the energies are really kicking. The reason I decided to do this now on the 20th is because that zone starts warming up July 31st, August 1st, August 2nd, August 3rd. That little 4-day window is really, really powerful. The moon is going to be in Virgo and Libra. So it'll be right after that Leo new moon. So those 3 days after the Leo new moon are going to be super potent with Uranus, North Node, and Venus and Mars. So one of the things that I looked up was what were the special alignments and then what are Venus and Mars doing? Because basically once a year, Venus initiates something new with Uranus. But once every 2 years, Mars initiates something new with Uranus. And while Uranus is in Taurus, I was just looking to see what's going to be up and in the mix energetically. So first, a little bit of go back to go forward. In June 11th, Venus initiated with Uranus, and June 16th, Venus initiated with the North Node. So we've already had this cracking open in June around our values and priorities, around our relationships and finances, and around our feminine, which is how we contain, nurture, and protect, right? Now that's June. In August 1st, Mars, Uranus, and North Node will all be together in the same day, initiating something new. So the fact that Mars is there only once every 2 years, Uranus is once every 84, North Node once every 20, that's a big deal. And that's happening technically August 1st. So this is Mars is our masculine, how we negotiate on our own behalf, get our ideas in the world, and hold good boundaries. It's also who you are and what you want, your passions and your vitality, your life force energy, how you make those choices and decisions in your own life for you, the individual, right? That's really important. So we're waking up to something new at a minimum for 2 years, 2 to 20. It's a pretty big window, but you're initiating on a personal level with Venus and Mars, the masculine and feminine is how we get anything done. So we want to liberate them from their old ways or old level of consciousness or old expressions, right? How we express our masculine and feminine energies through our own vehicle, whether we're male or female, we all have both. And so this is a renewal time. And it's only once every 2 years that they would all be there at the same time within a 2-month period. So this is an awakening for our individual selves to take something in our Taurus department to the next level, right? And those will be your best prayer days. Now, again, everything has been leading up to now. So the bigger activations, Pluto in Capricorn did a trine, which is a blessing, ease, and grace with the North Node, which again speaks to how we could transform. This happened February 12th of this year, 2022. So in February, we had this earthy energy around, again, changing our physical day-to-day existence in some kind of way with hopefully some ease and grace, where we recognized that there were new values and we made some new commitments and it worked out. Let's just claim that. Same February 17th, 5 days later, Jupiter in the sky in Pisces, sextile Uranus. So this is earth and water creating something together. We always want to give the flow a structure. So that earthy energy helps mitigate some of that Jupiter and Pisces being so big. But what we love about Jupiter and Pisces is our imagination and our creativity and our consciousness awakening to that next level. With Uranus on the North Node in Taurus, it means we can concretize some of that by being more creative. You know, this is something else I've gotten from Yeye was that there has to be more output, right? I used to write a lot of poetry. I used to sing every day. I'm back to doing all that. So there are little creative expression of things that are part of our vitality that if we're not doing the creative fun part, then we're not getting the juice we need to do the work and the laborious part, right? Where it's labor. But we have this access to new beginnings that came through in February. In March, it was Neptune. March, right around equinox, Neptune connected with the North Node. So this, again, helped us increase our imagination around what we really want, the path we want to walk, right? And how different that is now compared to 1 year or 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. This is a new day and we've been exposed to new energies. Then in April, we had big energy. We were all together in Oakland with Yeye. April 7th, Jupiter and North Node got together. So first we had Neptune connecting us to spirit and our imagination, but then Jupiter is our consciousness and how we're learning. So we're still learning how to embody this new path and this new direction. And at the same time, being exposed and awakened to new ways of looking at it, right? And allowing our imagination a vote. That's really important. April 10th. Now here's the only hard one. Here's our first square. April 10th to April 12th was Jupiter to Neptune, that initiation we did with the Olokun rising. But in the same window, Saturn in Aquarius actually squared North Node in Taurus. So Aquarius to Taurus is air and earth. It's our ideas and our body. So sometimes our mind wants to do some stuff and our body needs a nap, you know? Sometimes our body is feeling so great, but our minds are out of pocket and they're all over the place. So those two elements don't always work well together. There's a challenge to get them to work, but there's also a challenge for us to translate our thoughts and ideas and concepts into concrete reality in some way. So we're being pushed to own a certain piece of your individuality and offer that piece. Don't sleep on that. Don't hold that back. And to choose a new reality based on more sovereignty and independence and freedom by your own definition. So like I said, I don't want to be part of the food supply chain madness. So I'm choosing what I eat a little differently and had to give up some stuff. You know, it's not always that easy, but we can make these changes based on how much freedom and sovereignty you personally need. Like I have a lot of Aries and a lot of Virgo. That means I like to be alone and do my own thing most of the time. So I don't go against my nature in that way, and I don't recommend it for other people. But it's also a challenge for us to do something different with our life path and direction. So how can you add something or change something or do something differently than you've ever done before? Or what is it that you wanted to do in the early 2000s or in the mid 2000s, 2012 to 14? What was going on at those times that maybe didn't work then that can work now? That's another way to look at that as well. So we had this growth moment right amongst all these opportunities for traction and growth and evolution and elements working well together. We had that big Saturn challenge. And then April 12th, Jupiter and Neptune only together every 12 and 165 years. That's why we chose that timing to do the Olokun rising. And now every year we're going to do 10 days or something over there to honor all the water deities. It's going to be very powerful. But this again was our awakening for the year. And I don't think we were recording, ladies, but we were talking about the water and the different things we can do. And that's what we learned in April, was how to affect the waters in different ways. Well, if we go deeper with that, the waters are our emotions. How can we do our emotional default settings, reset them in a way where that GPS system brings you back to center, back to home, or what we used to talk about in Shanta Circle, the gyroscope of the heart, right? Your heart is the part of you that allows you to stay balanced and centered when chaos is swirling all around you. That's just how that goes. So we have been reconnected to spirit and God of our understanding. We have opened up a new conversation, you know, an inquiry has been opened up on how we can do better with these things. And the energies completely support us. And then the last one I want to mention was May 3rd, Jupiter in Pisces had a really good angle to Pluto. So again, with the transformation of our consciousness and the transformation of our path, have had ease and grace this year in how we're going to shift those things. And maybe it's just back to awakening. Maybe it's just, you know, waking up to our own next level, which I, you know, also believe is happening. The other thing this is all preparatory for, just a really quick overview, is that next year we won't have Mars engaged, but we will have Venus. But Jupiter, June 1st, 2023, Jupiter in the sky is going to connect with North Node in Taurus. We're still talking Taurus, y'all. So that's the once in 12 years that Jupiter will be in Taurus and the once in 20 years that the North Node. So that's going to be a big deal. And probably I'll do a call about that one because that Jupiter is different from Uranus. Jupiter, we can work with a little bit more closely because it's a social planet. It's one we can see, so we can have a relationship with that planet in the sky. It's very bright and beautiful if you get out there and look for Jupiter. So June 1st is going to be a big prayer day, but your values and your priorities are going to be waking up in March. That's going to be shifting around equinox, where a whole new relationships, whole new path will be opening up from what we develop, what we put in play now. Okay, so keep that in mind too, that spring equinox is going to be very active. And then June 1st for that Jupiter alignment. And then Jupiter, like I said, on June 1st in 23, is lining up with North Node, life path and direction. But in 24, it's going to line up with Uranus, still in Taurus. So that's our consciousness and our awakening. So there's going to be this huge awakening by 24, y'all. So again, everything's building, response to the last thing, preparation for the next thing. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much of technical stuff, but I want to get into the divinations as well and look at this amazing support we got. So I used Tarot of the Spirit and the medicine cards for animals support. And I have the Shaman's Path cards, which are little things we can do. Very little short and sweet cards as well. I'll have a PDF that will go out with the recording and a PDF with the details on these divinations so that you all can play with them on your own. But let's take a pause for the cause here. Anyone want to speak up or ask questions or have me go deeper into anything I did just lay on the table before we get to the fun divinations? Okay, we're going to dive into the divinations. Now, what I did here is I pulled one card for the North Node, Life Path and Direction Guidance, one card for Uranus, Liberation and Awakening Guidance, one for Taurus, our values and priorities around food, sex, and money specifically, and then one for overall, what it's all dialing in together. Now, this was powerful. I love Tarot of the Spirit. Pamela Eakins has actually guested on a few of my calls as well. And I love her because she combines sacred geometry, the tree of life, the Kabbalah, mysticism, cosmology, astrology, numerology. Like she's really packed in there. It's very, very rich. So part of the reason we needed a PDF was so I could edit down to the good stuff for us. So what I pulled for the North Node Life Path Direction, this is around our embodiment and this new direction, this new path that we're starting out on in our Taurus areas. And I got the Empress, which is the major arcana. So I encourage you all to look at your own cards. I know everyone has the deck somewhere, and this would be number 3 in the major arcana. So in her Tarot of the Spirit, key number 3 is the Empress. She is the gateway to form, the guardian of the threshold to earth. Empress represents the unity of the universal female and male forces, the mother and the father, form and force, receptivity and emission. Form is life, and the Empress is the bearer of that life. Because she is a transmitter of radiant spirits, the one light of the universe, which is contained in all life, she is referred to as the luminous intelligence. I love that. Every form produced by the eternal mother shines with the light of the spirit. As the universal mother, the Empress is the second aspect of the triple goddess, the female aspect of the creator. Empress, as the feminine side of God, the goddess, always represents the power of manifestation or the ability to contain the life force in the world of form. As the universal mother, she symbolizes the second blood mystery of woman, containing all without overflowing. Empress is all abundance. She is the symbol of fertility, shelter, protection, and nourishment. All this of the soul. Deep breath. She manifests not objects, but patterns on the spiritual plane. These patterns are the manifestation of the abstract idea of creation. She emits patterns for the structures of existence. She provides the blueprint of nature or the matrix of the soul. In Hebrew attribution, the Empress is a door. She is the door of nature. Because she is the cradle from which all souls emit and to which all souls return, she is a two-way door. She is the door of both birth as well as the door of death. This is the essence of form. All forms come into being to contain the force of creativity. But as we grow, forms become too small and must be discarded. This is necessary so that our creativity can assume a new shape. So it is with the Empress, who tirelessly cradles and tirelessly emits new children, in quotes. The Empress within you is the master creator in the world of form. In order to emit new form, you must first be receptive to abstract ideas and allow such ideas to be implanted in yourself, your soul, or your personal matrix. I like that. In the first stage, as the receiver of idea, you are the very essence of Venus, the first aspect of the Empress. Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. Love is the substance, the glue that allows the seed of idea to cling to the womb. Venus is the thunderous power of sexuality. As the great and beautiful temptress, the Empress, as Venus, draws all creativity toward and into herself. In the second stage, you are the nurturer. You hold and cradle life. You are all abundance. Everything has come to you. You give everything back in abundance with the magic of your mothering. You are friend and nurturer of all creatures of land and sea. The bountiful land and sea itself, the open, glorious sky. Everything moves into your abundance and emerges renewed. In such abundance, there is only calm and enduring joy. Love that. Deep breath. Breathe it in. There is no fear. In the third stage, you are the birther. You release. You expel the force in its new form. If you experience sorrow at letting go, let the sorrow be experienced with an undercurrent of joy. For to release means that there is space made for ever more powerful and beautiful forms. Sorrow is a veil which masks ever greater levels of creativity. Freely release, and the birth, while laborious, need not be painful. These are your children of your own mind and body. Deep breath. So the Empress is guiding our life path and direction. If we stay tuned into Venus, that's our values and priorities, which also happens to rule Taurus. So it's all connected, right? The animal support to help us with all that creation and creativity was Jaguar. Jaguar and the medicine cards. Now, this was deep, y'all, because I've been using Animal Wise for a long time and I've got the 4 winds. I had to do the pendulum to ask which animal cards to use, and the medicine cards won. So, and with Jaguars, number 51 for my numbers people, and related to integrity and impeccability. So again, we're back to if we can be ourselves and be integrity within ourselves and hold that unity within, then we can deal, we can make choices, we can make moves in the world a lot easier and from a place of centeredness. That's really important. So the great Jaguar spirit, who was Sky God's totem, roamed the realms of the Maya, looking for any dishonorable behavior. Misdeeds and abuses of power had diminished the spirit of the Maya and needed to be sacrificed for the survival of the people. The priests who had abused the authority and power bestowed on them quaked in fear, knowing that the day of reckoning had come. Jaguar brought justice by stalking their dreams and devouring their flagrantly dishonorable and greedy misdeeds. Deep breath. Jaguar medicine is integrity and impeccability. Its mission is to devour the unclean aspects of human behavior. Jaguar teaches us the penalties of inappropriate behavior and offers the rewards of good medicine to those who stand in their personal integrity and walk through life in an impeccable manner. If Jaguar is roaming your dream/reality today, its primal roar may be rewarding you for maintaining your integrity in some situation where you could have easily misused your authority. You may have been unwilling to pass judgment on another or to be self-serving. Were you especially kind to someone or do a good deed that was unexpected? If so, allow the recognition to fill you with feelings of well-being and continue to serve with compassion and open-hearted integrity. Do not falter in your resolve to be or do your best at all times. Maintain your dignity, devotion, compassion, and hold to the forthrightness and honesty no matter what the contrary influences. Jaguar medicine teaches you that personal integrity allows for mistakes, embraces forgiveness, and humbly makes self-directed corrections, allowing a rebalanced spirit to triumph once again. If Jaguar is hanging upside down from the tree limb today, this means if we're operating from shadow, you may have created an enlightenment trap for yourself. Has the misuse of authority kept you from walking your path with impeccability? Have you betrayed your own personal integrity to accommodate others? Are you engaged in some activity that lessens your potential? If so, call your spirit or energy back. Integrity requires a forgiving and open heart. Compassion and mercy are also needed. Self-blame or pointing fingers at others only shows your own lack of integrity. Jaguar says to become impeccable, use integrity and you will thrive. Deep breath. And then our shaman's path card was spirit animal dance. So this is the one where I said, okay, we wanted some guidance, we wanted some animal support, and then we wanted something to do. So here is any spirit animal that you feel close to is honored when you invite them to merge with you and dance through your body. So become your favorite animal. Invite your spirit animal to merge with you and allow them to move your body. My spirit animal is my spiritual ally. And then they always have an affirmation at the bottom. I allow myself to be moved and danced by my spirit animal is Ruby Red Wolf. So you're supposed to fill in the name of your spirit animal. So I allow myself to be moved and danced by Ruby Red Wolf. So because we're 20 minutes after the hour, I just wanted to go through one so that you know they're all what they are, but I'm going to go through a little bit of the rest, and then you guys can look at the PDF, but I want to get to our journey, and I don't want this to be super, super long or hard for the replay. But that was our life path and direction guidance. So we got the Empress, Jaguar, and Spirit Animal Dance. With Uranus and our liberation and awakening guidance, we got Earth Sister, which is Revelation in this one. With Revelation, she is embracing all that exists. She is using all her powers to manifest. We're still back in this physical reality based on our choices and our values. She is Earth Sister, represents the sphere of Earth, and she's actually the cover of the book. So this is the card of Earth Sister. This is what she looks like. She brings the 4 elements into balance and holds pairs of opposites in equilibrium within her form. She symbolizes complete balance and total success. Therefore, she also represents the completion of a cycle. So let's look at where Uranus is waking us up, again, where the old way is just not going to work anymore. Earth Sister is the brink of transformation. She is careful and diligent and has managed her affairs with the utmost attention. So she's very powerful. She is an earthy sister. She is all about new beginnings and spring life and things like that. So this is where we're waking up, right? This is our energetic support for that. The animal support was Turtle, Mother Earth. So again, we get back into our individual sovereignty, our ability to take care of ourselves, to carry our house on our back, to have good boundaries, to know when to pull in and when to bite somebody's head off, because sometimes it is right and just and has to be done. Some people don't honor your boundaries, so they got to catch a smackdown. I don't play that. So people know, and I think I've talked about this when we talk about Cancer, Capricorn energy, to treat family like a business and business like a family. So I have super boundaries and protocols with my family, but I'm a little more loose with my community and my clients and my students. Turtle is our animal guidance for this awakening. We want to take it slow. We want to take our time. We want to do things that are natural for our systems, right? That's going to be really important. And then the shaman card was standing people, which is trees. Go hug a tree. Let's get some tree love in the mix. And to align ourselves and to recognize that we need to breathe more deeply and all of that in order to channel this awakening, in order to guide it so that we are productive by the end of it. And then we have our guidance for the Taurus part of this, right? So this is all about your new and next level around food, sex, or money, or your values and resources, what I call love, money, and your magnetics, because with Taurus, it's what we magnetize or what we're magnetized to and what we're repelled by, what we don't like. So again, with your electromagnetic field being really important, y'all, our heart is the only electromagnetic organ. It connects us to the Taurus field. We want to see that flooded with light and fortified daily, because then we move through our day and it can weaken. So we want to strengthen and fortify that every day. In this Taurus zone, we pulled the card in Tarot of the Spirit was the Garden, which is Saturn in Taurus astrologically. So there is this connection to our superpowers, which would be how we channel each element. So I just want to cover a few things in this card, and then you all definitely read these. They're only one page each, so they're not that long. But I love the garden because this is the key to knowing that the way we define our own reality has a self-fulfilling potency. And that is to say, if I define myself as too weak, too non-technically oriented, too clean or dressed up to change a flat tire, then I will stay where I am until help comes along. Remember, we want to be sovereign, independent. And if I'm on a country road, that might take a while, right? There are a number of possibilities, but we create our own definitions and we create our own realities, right? So I love this part where she talks about at the 7, you realize that you create yourself at every step of the way. You do your own prioritizing. No one else can do that for you. You create your own symbolic universe. That is to say, you decide what reality you want to live in. And I'm always going to remind you of this. You decide how you will integrate your own value system. How does your spirituality fit in? Your emotional life, your intellectual pursuits, physical exercise, work. The trained magician knows that he can wield the wand, which is our will. The mirror is intuition. The knife is reason. And stone is substance, to create the internal world as well as to act on the external world, creating a reality which reflects his own image, so that we are the magician. The magician recognizes that all social systems are human products. The existence of these systems has its base in the lives of concrete individuals. Now, there are no social systems apart from the perpetrators of those systems. So this is what I mean when I say, when we change, everyone around you has to change or go away. So when we shift, these systems will shift, I promise. And she has another one where it's the magician. At the 7 of earth, you are the magician. The earth is your garden. In creating the garden, you are aided by the gardening tools, which you have already earned. Your wand helps you balance and direction with your will. The cup helps balance and direction in your intuition and emotions. The blade helps balance and direction in your reason. You may now select seeds with which you will sow your garden. You must plant your gold in a sacred field. Use your valuable resources, your wisdom and understanding, all the tools you hold as the magician to do what is right. What is your gold and how will you sow it? Deep breath. So the garden is how we embody this Taurus part of this whole lineup. This is the energy and lesson. So this is helping us with our lesson. We are earth beings. We're earthlings. We got to do this here. So the animal support was beaver, very powerful medicine, the builder. I love the beaver because it builds all its little dams with many, not just one, many exits and entrances. So another Kellyism is to always have an exit strategy. When you're moving into a partnership with people or doing things with folks, you want to negotiate in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. If we're not happy, everybody walks away, no fault, right? That's really important to have an exit strategy, but also to build your house the way you want to live based on the values that are important to you. The shaman card, or the thing to do, I pulled thunder beings. I love this because they are powerful spirit beings responsible for thunder and lightning, bringing both destruction and celebration of life in the springtime. So be willing to show your thunder and lightning when necessary. Also, establish your boundaries and your own inner authority. You are the author of your story. Stay strong and set clear boundaries. So this again with Taurus, it's what feels right to you, what's comfortable for you, what feels safe for you is all lined up in the Taurus energy as well. Now, overall, we're building strength. I got number 8 in the major arcana, the strength card. And that is a powerful sense of self. The way that she breaks it down in here is so deep. But again, we come into our own. Every so often, these things line up and help us move to our own next level. Spider is the animal medicine, and that is the weaver. So we love spider medicine because when she weaves her web, food comes to her. She's not out hunting necessarily, not out chasing stuff down. She builds her base and she lets everything she needs come to her. We want to take some of that advice. We want to look at how different threads during some of those years I mentioned over the years are connected. and how when you pluck one, another one reverberates, right? So we want to use our spider medicine to dig deeper for that. And the gratitude song was really a good piece to think about. This is a song of gratitude, can be sung anywhere, anytime. Go out into nature and ask your guides, the spirits of nature, to teach you a gratitude song. So again, with the singing, moving meditations are really important right now. When we're in Taurus, it's very important to keep the energy moving, but to also take our time and do what's natural. So how we feeling? We up for like an 8-minute drum journey? You all got another 10 minutes in you? Okay. This is my sacred white heart. We love her. She's beautiful. Let me know how the sound is. This might be the first drum journey I've done on Zoom. Everybody go to your happy place in nature. Get comfortable. This is where we do ask our favorite guide or totem to hold space between real reality and liminal space where we're headed. I use Ruby Red Wolf, as I said. She holds the gate for me. Go to wherever you are most comfortable. Could be mountains or ocean, the redwoods or the swamps. I've had some amazing nature experiences all over in this winter, spring, summer, and fall. So whatever temperature is comfortable for you. You're in pristine nature. There's no industry, no humans, no mechanical objects, just nature and animals and you and your angels, ancestors, and animal spirit guides. So what we want to ask tonight is to go in about all that we just laid on the table, the awakening, the shift in direction, the values and priorities, and the evolution of our relationships and finances, and see if an angel, an animal, a spirit, an ancestor wants to come forward and share with you some medicine or a message. Sometimes it's just a word or a symbol or a picture or an activity of some kind. So let's go in and see what they bring. Deep breath. Okay, that's our callback. This is where you give your gratitude and say thank you, wrap it up. Sometimes you offer a lock of hair or some cornmeal or lavender, tobacco, a rock or a shell. When you don't have anything, you can offer a lock of hair. Say thank you. I'm going to take a few notes of which animals showed up. Buffalo came through, suggested I use everything I have to do what I have to do. And Eagle came to say stay above it all. I always have Spider, and the fact that we had Spider here again is really important. Dolphin came to say stay joyful and play with others. That's what I can remember. There was one more. All right, ladies. Well, thank you for being with me. I so appreciate your energy, helping me hold it down. Lots of people do want the recording, so I trust. And I look forward to connecting with you all. Don't forget, tomorrow night is Venus Circle if you want to sit in as my guest. It's going to be a really juicy one in Cancer at our third eyes where we're doing the clearing. And I've just sort of opened it up this month to invite some new people in. So come join us over there. Tomorrow night will be conference call, not a Zoom. All right. I'm so grateful. Thank you, ladies. And I will get the recording and the PDF out sometime tonight. Zoom takes a little time to download and all that. And I will talk to you all soon. So much gratitude. See you tomorrow.